Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I think many of us have noticed how Zanu PF has now got a propaganda department in every province. And the nation has been bombarded with these claims of economic empowerment, young women for ED, all veterans for ED. There's so many of them. And the amount of time Zanu PF leaders spent on this, what I can only call photo opportunities, is amazing. I think it's no exaggeration to say they've very little time for anything else. Here is one such, and this one is for Mashonaland East. And it's one of those well-publicized, well-funded, and it's meant to be seen as proof of Vision 2030 is being delivered. Oh, I'm sure that is all the president wants. And I can rest assure you, he is not the first one to say that. This so-called Vision 2030, where Zimbabwe will attain upper middle income nation status, has not started with Mnangagwa. Started soon after independence. Mugabe never tired of talking about Gutsaroshinji, mass prosperity. But we all know what happened. Zimbabwe in 1980 was an upper middle income nation already, with a GDP per capita of 6,000 US dollars. Over the years, that has fallen to a third. Zimbabwe's GDP per capita today is 2,000 US dollars. We are being told that Mnangagwa is going to change all that. It's going to increase threefold, at least threefold, back to 6,000 US dollars per capita GDP by 2030. We are in 2026. We are talking of in 4 years' time, we'll have attained that. And no doubt, this so-called economic empowerment for women is supposed to help us attain it. Let me tell you something. This is just nonsense. This is just propaganda. Mnangagwa has been in office since taking over following the 2017 military coup. He promised economic empowerment, economic growth, revival. He was so sure of it. He hit the ground running with his so-called Zimbabwe is open for business mantra. He was so sure it would be followed by investors flooding into the country. They did not. Investors are a shrewd lot. They knew that the musical chairs of November 2017 were just that, musical chairs. The dictator Mugabe was booted out, plus one or two of those close to him, and another dictator took over. Nothing had changed. Zimbabwe was the pariah state. No one was going to be fooled into believing that Zimbabwe is open for business when it's still a pariah state. I want to tell these ladies and all those Zanu PF supporters who have been sold on this idiotic idea that Zimbabwe will become an upper middle income nation by 2030. It is a mirage. As long as Zimbabwe remains a pariah state, governed by corrupt, incompetent, and murderous thugs, the country's meltdown, economic meltdown, and political turmoil will continue. That is the reality. And to pretend that somehow all these expenses on propaganda will change that is foolish. There will be no meaningful economic recovery in Zimbabwe as long as Zimbabwe remains a pariah state, ruled by murderous thugs who have rigged elections to stay in power. All these ladies should know that Mnangagwa rigged the 2023 elections. They should know that Zanu PF has never held free, fair, and credible elections since the country's independence in 1980. They should know that Zanu PF has murdered over 40,000 innocent Zimbabweans to retain power. The regime is not accountable to anybody. And this is why we are in this mess. Mnangagwa has accelerated corruption in the country and is using some of that looted wealth to fund all this propaganda activity. Yes, some of the lucky few Zanu PF leaders there have benefited from the proceeds of the loot. Some of the ordinary members, ordinary Zimbabweans, have also benefited. Got invited to State House and got a box of chicken and chips, sapatina, sapatina. But the truth of the matter is, millions of Zimbabweans continue to live in abject poverty. And we are not going to change it without changing the political system. My message to the Zanu PF leaders out there is that there will never be economic empowerment without political empowerment. Vision 2030 is a mirage. For those in the rural areas, the real economic empowerment that every Zimbabwean should be fighting for is that every Zimbabwean should be given the right to own, be it 2 or 3 acres on which the house stands. Title deeds to the land on which your house is built. That is the real economic empowerment. And I'll tell you why Zanu PF will never or has never given you that right. Because they know that with that economic empowerment, it will change people's lives and make them confident enough to demand political empowerment too. Zanu PF has adopted that policy from Ian Smith. Ian Smith refused to give ordinary Zimbabweans title deeds to the land. For the same reason, you fear that that will truly economically empower them. And he didn't want to take that risk. And so after independence, Mugabe adopted the same policy for the same selfish political reason. The same individuals who are celebrating all this economic empowerment will be frog marched to attend Zanu PF rallies and frog marched to vote for their party. That is what I mean when I say you need political empowerment. You're not free to vote for whoever party you wish. That is what is the problem in Zimbabwe. As long as the people remain subservient to the regime, there will be no meaningful economic development in the country. Here is Margaret Longo. I'll let her have the last say on this subject.
They have wrong priorities, especially the current government. How can you go and build an airport which services a few people, and the majority are the elite? and the so-called investors. Look at the rural. I made you come to interview me because I wanted you to have the experience of the roads that we are using. If we go today to our hospital there, you feel pity with that's a hospital in a rural area. If we go to our clinic, you feel pity. We have no piped water here. Do you know the reason why the rural people vote for Zanu PF? One, they're intimidated. Two, the policy is that the rural people should remain poor and subservient to the government. They should remain poor because if they remain poor, they continue singing the song for their master. This is why these people have been impoverished. It's for a reason. Because at the moment, if you economic empower these people, they'll go out of hand. Zanu PF will never have control over them.
And as I said, real economic empowerment in the case of particularly rural areas will be giving the people in the rural areas title deeds. And that will set them to claiming their political empowerment. All these gimmicks of economic empowerment, projects for young women, this and that, is all meant to keep the rural people subservient to the regime. Vision 2030 is but a mirage. The sooner some of our people realize it, the better for the country. Think about it. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.